People might suggest that this is literally not Meghan Markle's fault, but it does appear that she drops friends like flies, And at the time, they're the besties, aren't they? The most supportive, all of that sort of stuff. And we've seen it time and time again. I mean, recently, of course, she was accused of basically saying no by this particular lady. We're not that friendly. I'm not really that close to her. Either way, that really spectacularly backfired because in her documentary and on a podcast, apparently, they've been the closest of besties. Now, this particular gentleman, you might have said, has done more than his fair share to support Harry and Meghan, the Sussexes, on their departure from the British monarchy. And what's interesting here is he really sort of put himself on the line by literally losing a very long-standing friendship with His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, Prince William, in favour of, well, backing the Sussexes. Now, all that looks set to crumble. Let me explain. How good to see you today on a bit of a dark and gloomy, windy afternoon now. How good to see you today on a very dark and gloomy now London. This is our weather, by the way. If you're over here, I hope you're having a nice time, even though, of course, there's all sorts of problems trying to get around with the traffic and marches. And oh, goodness, it does get on your nerves after a while, doesn't it? You're exhausted before you've started, aren't you? Just need to sit down. You're my sort of people. I know, I'd love a sedan chair. Do you remember those from the medieval times? People carted you around, two blokes, and you just sat in a box. Apparently it was so the ladies' dresses didn't get in the dirty roads. They should be brought back, revived for all of us. You agree? Why not? Way to travel, isn't it? Now, some people might say that this particular individual's way to travel is going to be very rocky indeed. We're talking about a man that basically put his neck on the line and spoke out and did an interview with Meghan Markle when she said, "Thank you for asking." Not many people have asked whether she's okay or not, even though she'd had the very best of help, so much support, all of that sort of stuff, all nonsensical rubbish when you know what really goes on in the background. But of course, he went along with it because, there you go. Now, he did try again with Prince Harry at the bulk of his book, basically accusing him of racism things, but Harry wasn't having none of it, and he just sat there silent, again, not much backbone. We're talking, of course, about Tom Bradby and the anchor for the news at 10 over here on the commercial channel ITV. Recently, he gave an interview to the Radio Times, an esteemed organ at one point, doesn't sell that many now, and many people just read it online for free. You get the picture. But in it, this particular interview was there to pump up the fact that he's now going to be covering the big election campaign this forthcoming week. Things went very bad very quickly for Tom, though, because he basically let slip that he feels he's one of the only remaining white anchors fronting mainstream news. And on that point, I would agree with him. Very difficult. And I've said to you before, why does it have to be just one or the other? Why can't you alternate them? Why don't you swap the jobs round? But, TV bosses are a bit dim and they just want to touch and tick boxes, to keep the wokerati happy. Now it's truly escalated for Tom because while that was a throwaway line, he claims, people now inside the organisation that he works for, ITN, ITV News, have written to certain bosses. Oh yes, it all comes to life really, doesn't it, in the end? And apparently they're unhappy with his comments, feeling that ostracising them and putting them down, the usual guff and nonsense. Now, on this occasion, I would support Tom and say you're allowed an opinion, and if that's what you feel, that's fine. But apparently this has got to the word and cast a glaze over to the land of Montecito. Now, what's interesting is they would have thought at one point that they could have trusted Tom, but now he's made this particular comment. According to that source, Meghan feels that, her time is done. And so, Tom, if you're watching this, you might just want to take note that obviously Meghan's not supporting you, neither is Prince Harry. And it's a strange thing, that, isn't it? He went out of his way to support them. All it would take is just one line on their website or somehow getting that message out to say, sure, Tom didn't mean it in this way. Zilch, nothing, on your own, literally cut off. For Tom, he's got a battle coming forward with negotiating the choppy waters of the election campaign and the big night. After that, ITN apparently will be looking into this particular situation, no doubt trying to smooth very troubled waters. But Harry's days now numbered as the only white anchor, allegedly, on ITN News. Interesting, isn't it? Neil Shawn in the very heart of London.